First thing you're going to do is you're going to number all of the valves. All right, we're going to tear these apart so we can get to finish porting the exhaust ports and the intake runners. But the first thing you want to do is you want to mark them all, and they're all going to go on this surface, lined up where they need to go, so nothing gets straightened away. So those numbers will be on the bottom for the numbers that's on the heads. Okay, keep it straight, one thing at a time. Take your time, and this will work out really good. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get this up and around. We're going to take a piece of wood, put it up underneath there. That way we got nice area to work with. This is your tool. This is your valve spring compressor. And the way this works is that this part goes up against the backside of the valve like this. And then this part goes over the cup, right? And then you take the trigger and you compress. All right, now she's compressed. All right, now we're going to take our retainers off, right, just like this. All right, and then you just slowly let her loose, which sometimes they don't go very slow, but you've now popped it loose. You have your retainer, you have your splash cup, which will reuse these, and then you have your dual springs. And then, wow. Huh. Okay. There wasn't a seal. Oh, there was. No? Okay. All right. Yep. Those guys are pretty good. Let me explain what's going on. Okay, so this is your valve seal right here, right? This part right here. And this is your umbrella seal, right? This goes over like this to keep oil from going down the valve into the combustion chamber, all right? Because, you know, push rod comes up, rocker arm, oil, all in this valley right here. Okay, so we're going to replace them with a much better version of that. You have your dual springs, right? You have the valve, which actually doesn't look that bad. That's an exhaust valve. You have your keepers. That's what goes in here. But the thing is, this valve should have had a rubber seal right here, and it didn't. That's not good. I'm wondering if any of them have them on them. We got, 15 more to go. That's not a good sign. All right. Somebody if this has ever been done before, somebody kind of missed a mark on that for not putting that seal on, but we're going to put that seal on, and we're going to reuse. These are basically just shrouds that go like this over the spring and help control oil consumption again through the guide. So we might actually reuse them, but we're going to put all new hardware, all springs, everything through here, because they don't look too bad. They're old, but we're putting a little bit of a higher lift cam than this looks like it was used for. So yeah, we're going to replace all this. I don't trust any of this because I don't know where it came from. Once you get them all took apart, that's what she did. This is all your junk. And like I said, I got 1 through 4 all lined up. We ain't gonna mess with that. And here's all your old hardware. With most of this can get thrown away because I'm not trusting any of it. Now we have access to all this stuff, so we can work on all of this. Okay, so they don't look too bad. They ain't really sunk in. They're all working. So, all right, let's get this one tore apart Then we'll start working on the heads themselves. Okay, I want to go over a couple things. All right, now, on these heads, there were two different kinds of retainers, all right? This is the retainer they had on the exhaust valves, all right? See it? This is the retainer they had on the intake valves, all right? Now, they're different now. They are actually the same height. Like this. Like this. They're actually the same height. But this is exhaust, and this is intake. A little beefier. Okay. Now, these are splash guards, basically, okay? How this works is, say, like on the exhaust, you have an umbrella seal, right? You have the valve sticking out of here. You have the spring around it. And then you have this splash guard that goes around the springs. Goes on top of the springs like this. Just like that, okay? Now, what these are supposed to do is take the oil that's coming off the rocker arm, drop it onto the valve spring. It's basically deflect it down the spring and keep it off of this guide right here, because the valve goes into that guide, and you don't want oil to drip down. Even though this is a machine fit, there's still enough room in there for liquid, a hot liquid, to get down past the valve stem, past this valve stem right here. All right, this doesn't have much evidence of it. It stayed pretty clean its life, but the whole premise of this is to keep, because this is a direct port in a direct. This is a direct lead into the combustion chamber, and you don't want oil fouling your combustion chamber, but you have to have oil to keep all this lubricated. So, with a combination of this type of seal on the intake, and where'd it go? Right there. This type of seal on the exhaust, with the deflectors on the springs, that's supposed to keep the oil out of your combustion chamber. Well, we're not going to have to do that, because we're going to put this type of seal, brand new ones that ain't wore out, because these are they were pretty loose. And these are junk. I hate these. We're going to replace them with brand new versions of these, nice and tight and bigger and beefier. Now, we could, if we wanted to, put them on there, but I think I'm going to keep them back for in the future for something else. Okay, this is what we're looking at. I took a little wire wheel and knocked all the dust off, but this is what you're looking at right here. This kind of stuff right here. See these little bumps, you want to call them? That's casting marks, okay? They're in all these, all over the place, okay? These can get smoothed out. Now, the exhaust is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's you know, it comes out the exhaust hole right there and goes in the intake and comes up in here. Okay, now, where you want to pay attention to this, the exhaust ports are all just to polish it out, make it smooth, make it leave as clean as possible, because it's a straight shot. There's no ridges. There's no nothing. I mean, it's as clean as it comes. All right, along with the hardened exhaust seats. Okay, now the intake on this is that on all of them, all the intakes, if you reach your hand in, headed towards, this is where the intake mounts up, okay? So the runner runs through here, right? This is your alleyway for your intake charge, gas and air, to come through. It hits the back of the valve, all right? Now, on this one, there is a ridge here. There is a little bit of a ridge here. You can see it. See that little line? There's a ridge. And there's a little ridge here. There's a bump. There's an actual indentation bump. I don't know if I can get you a picture of it, but you can see where the color changes. That's about 1/8 of an inch in there. So what we were going to want to do, and then on this side, on all of them, it's pretty flush. There's not any restriction. It's pretty good. Okay, so you're dealing with a line ridge here that needs to be smoothed out, a little bit of a line here, and then you have this ledge on this side, which, let's go to the whiteboard, I'll tell you about it. This is your runner coming in to your valve, all right? Just like this. And this is your valve opening right here, all right? Now, if you have a bump here and a bump here, and the airflow is coming in, what do you think it's going to do when it hits that point? It's going to spin around. What you want is you want this to come through at an angle and go right into the piston hole. With the piston, you want that air going right in. You don't want on the back top side or on the sides, you don't want anything bouncing the air around. You want it flowing straight in. Okay, so your best case scenario is we'll take the one that has the bump, and it has a little bump like this on the, and the valve is right here. You want that as smooth as possible. This right here, this area right here, you want that smooth. And this little bit, there's going to be a little bit of a ridge here that you can smooth out really easy with a cartridge roll. You don't have to have an actual bit on it. It'll smooth it right out. But this one, if you feel it, it feels like it's like that big. All right, it feels like a big old hump. And when that air hits it, it's going to make all kinds of bouncing around and turbulence. You don't want that. You want it going straight past that valve and into the cylinder. So that's what we're taking out, this part and the parts on the sides, to make it as smooth a transition as possible. If you feel more comfortable, you can tip it up this way and put a piece of board on the backside, because this is the area we're looking at right here, this little ledge right here, and you're just cleaning this up. So I do all four and then move it around, but yeah, it's just a matter of making it smooth, making a smooth transition. Because like I said, that air is coming in here, and it's going to hit this bump, and it's going to be turbulent, all right? Because the valve is going to be opening, and you can see where the cylinder is, and that's going to bounce shit around here and bounce things around. Now, a lot of people say that's good for atomization, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but when you're wanting to make power on the top side, this is what you got to do. You got to clean this all up. So we're going to continue with this, get these all done, and start working from there. All right. I got my hearing protection on. I got my eyes on, gloves. All right. This is what we're going to do with the exhaust. All right. We're just going to take the big chunks out with this. Okay, now I started the process as you just watched, and there's still, everything is smoothed out. It's a nice smooth transition. There's no sharp edges, there's no big ledges. I still want to, I'm gonna flip this back over. Actually, those are pretty good. What a little bit I did. Now, as you can see, you know, guides, exhaust guides. You know, the exhaust is pretty straightforward. There isn't no edges. It just out it goes. Okay, so we can polish on this a little bit, which we're going to, but see if I can get my light to work. But yeah, you're just whittling down all the high and low spots, and that's pretty good for the intake. Okay, I just want to try to get some light in here so I can show you what's going on. All right, now you see that line? That's your casting flash, all right? And this is where I've worked it. You can see the shiny spots is where I've worked it back. And there's still the flash. Now this radius here is pretty good. Got a little bit of junk in the corner. But this is your line of where your air is going to come out through here, through your valve. So it shoots down the runner and it hits a corner and comes out with that valve open, okay? So you want to, like I said, you want to make that as smooth a trip as possible. Okay. It now, you know, there's a lot of things in here like this. You see that bump right there? That bump. See that bump? That's the kind of casting stuff that's in these that you can take out. You know, they all have them. See, bump. It's just part of the process of making these things. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to clear out and polish this up and just keep working. But just smoothing everything up and getting rid of all the junk. See, I can feel that there's a big ridge right here that I'm snagging my finger on. That's a casting flash that needs to come out, and a little bit farther up in there on that one too. So it's just little things like that, and you just keep working until you get it where you like it. Okay, and we got these kind of cleaned up, polished a little bit, and I know the system doesn't like the LEDs, but basically I took and I cleaned all these up. So I opened these up a little bit all the way around. Nothing special. You know, the exhaust ports are pretty close from the factory. I mean, there's not much hogging you need to do or would need to do on this. They're a lot better than the intake side. But what I wanted to show you was this. Those ports, okay, they're on both heads, on both sides. Now, it doesn't look like a solid in the back. Now, what that is your exhaust heat crossover that goes on the bottom of an intake. It's this thing right here. They tie into the two exhaust ports, and that's what, back in the day, that is what would get your engine up to temperature faster on cold days. It would run an exhaust manifold, it would run an exhaust pulse heat underneath the manifold. You think of it, head here, and manifold in between. And if you look at all the factory stock and aftermarket, some of the aftermarket stuff, they have the heat crossover, and that's just for drivability in cold climates. Warms the engine up, or warms everything up faster on the intake side. So we're going to block that off because we're not going to use it. But that's what, if you get into this and you start looking and you're doing exhaust ports, you're like, okay, well, I got nice back there, and then all of a sudden I got these two holes in the center, and like, what the hell? Did I get something wrong? Is something broke? No, that's just the way they're designed, like I said. And on the driver's side, that's just the way it is. All right, so I've hogged them out a little bit with this one. I've been polishing with the deal, and there's no rough edges, no nothing, and that's about as good as I do exhaust. All right, so now we got to do the same thing on that one. I'd say I know that these cameras hate LED lights, but I'd say she's pretty good. I would say they're pretty good. Yeah. I'm sorry for the waviness in the photo, but yeah, I don't have a halogen light to use. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty good. Okay, so that's one. We got to finish on this one. Okay, this is head number 2. That's head number 1. This is head number 2. Now, I wanted to show you something. Now, as you can see, I'm looking in here. As you can see, there's nothing out of the ordinary in this port or these ports. But look here, right here. I'll show you the shadow. Look at that big old nasty casting line that's in the middle of that port. That's taking up volume, okay? And you can tell it's a casting line that never got cleaned from the factory, because this is your casting line, all right? 2 molds, leaves a little mark and all this, you know. So somebody on the Saturday shift or the night shift or whatever missed the mark and left a big old nasty chunk of junk in this intake runner. I mean, the exhaust port. So we're going to clean that out. All right. Yeah, you can see it knocks decades of old crud out of these ports. Just decades. And see, they're just, yep. See how nice that is? It doesn't take much, you know? Doesn't take much at all. And you got a smoother, nicer, easier path for your exhaust to get out of. So if you want to see my best little video ever made, right here. If you want to see the one that they say is best for you, is right there. Y'all be good.